All right, it did just hit 3 o'clock, so we will get started. I'd like to welcome everybody to Simple Invest 360 Education Week. My name is Daniel, and I'm going to be running the session today, which is all about automating data with BGL SmartDocs. Before we do actually get into any of the content for today, we have some housekeeping just to cover first. All attendees who are participating are on listen-only mode. However, if you do have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to use that Q&A function in Zoom. We'll get to as many of those questions as possible, as well if it does pertain to the training that I'm doing as well. I might choose to weave it in. We'll also have a section right at the end to answer some questions for you as well. In addition to that, this webinar will be recorded and will be uploaded to the BGL YouTube channel. Anyone who is registered for today's webinar will receive an email with the recording, a link to the recording, as well as the slides that I'm showing you here as well. So don't be afraid if you were after those, were after the recording, as well as the slides after the fact, those will be sent to all registered attendees. In addition to this, this webinar is a part of the Simple Invest 360 Education Week. We do have four very specialized webinars for you this week, starting off today, as you can see, with the webinar today on BGL SmartDocs. We do have some of our other webinars as well, all starting at 3 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. And if you'd like to sign up for those, feel free to do so by clicking the link that I just posted in chat, going to the education page, scrolling down, and then you can choose to enroll in these Simple Invest webinars. In addition to this, we are running education weeks for our other softwares. So for instance, if you were a user of Simple Fund 360 or another one of our softwares, CAS 360, all those recordings will be made available, as well as the CAS 360 Education Week is happening next week as well. All of those are on the same page, so feel free to sign up wherever you desire and come along for the webinars or attend and have a look at some of the recordings after the fact. So let's get into the content for today. The agenda we have. Initially, we're going to be looking at uploading documents, what options you have for getting documents in to your entities in Simple Invest, and what SmartDocs will essentially do to these documents to analyze them and speed up the process of speed up your processing within the software. After that, we'll have a look at some of the very specific SmartDocs analysis functions that we have. We'll upload a bank statement, upload rental statements, and then finally we'll have a look at the annual tax statements and the distribution tax automation screen. Some of you that may have attended the previous webinars about SmartDocs will find that there's some similarities, but I have made some specific changes, hopefully so that it will have more benefit for you today as well. So, getting to our first topic, which is all about uploading documents, and it would be remiss for me not to explain what BGL SmartDocs is. BGL SmartDocs is a paper to data solution. Essentially, you upload documents. BGL SmartDocs will read these documents, determine what type of data it has, and extract certain types of data from that. This could be from bank statements where you can make transactions. It could be from rental statements where you would look at the values of income and expense figures, so rental income or any of the property expenses, and you can make a transaction through that. Or if we're looking at the annual tax statements, it will read the annual tax data for you. And I'll show you exactly how to do that in the software today. In terms of uploading documents, we do have a couple of main options available to you, all achieving the same outcome. So firstly, we have the option to send documents to an entity's SmartDocs email address. This is a unique email address for you, for your entity, and you can simply send an email and the document will be sent to your software. In addition to that, you can upload documents through the document screen, as well as you can upload documents through other parts of the software. I'll show you a couple of those, but the main two we recommend is either to use the SmartDocs email or to upload via the document screen. So I'll jump over to Simple Invest 360 now, and we'll get started. To begin with, I'll run through the process of uploading a simple bank statement. Typically, one of the processes we would expect you to potentially complete in your journey here. That is done on the Smart Matching screen. If we go Accounting and Smart Matching, some of you may have seen this screen, and it's one of the easiest ways to get bank statements into your entities. You're on the Smart Matching screen. You can select data entry or import bank statements. Then you have an option to drop or browse files here. If you click on this, all you need to do is find that bank statement and select it, click open, click confirm here in the bottom left, and then that document is uploaded and it will extract some transactions for you based on the data in the document. There we go. It's a very simple process. It uploads the document, reads certain details such as the dates here, the debit or credit amounts, as well as the descriptions here on the side. And as you can see, as I click through it on the left, it does actually highlight the section here on the right, as well as if you were to click these numbers in the actual document, it'll show you it in the transaction and vice versa. So that's one of the ways that we can get documents into the fund. Now I'd like to show you one of the other two that we have, starting with the BGL SmartDocs email. So if we jump back to the dashboard, your entity dashboard, it could be trust, individual, or company. And what we're looking for is the SmartDocs email address up the top here. This is a unique email address for your entity, and if you send documents to this email address, they'll be added to your entity. Very simple. So I'm going to copy this one here. We'll go to my email here and compose a new email. We'll input the to address, and all we're going to do is add some attachments. You can add as many attachments as you would like here. Again, we would recommend separating it and not uploading hundreds of documents all in the one email. But it does successfully upload documents, 20 documents or so at a time pretty consistently. That is typically the range I would recommend. And if you go beyond that, I wouldn't expect it to fail, but there is more chance for it to fail the more documents there are going in at the same time. If we go to analysis here, I've got some documents that we can upload. We've got a total of 7, and I'll click open. Those are all getting loaded in. And once they are all done, we can click send and send those documents off to our entity. It does take some time for that to be uploaded to the software. And then from that point, BGL SmartDocs will have a look at these documents, analyze them, and attempt to place them in the best place in your entity. Hopefully, I'll receive a response email in just a second stating that those documents were successful, which should happen at any moment now. Regardless, we can always jump back to the entity itself, go to our document screen, which is under reports and documents. And as you can see, those documents have already come through. If we go back to our email, we do have that document received confirmation, and it shows all the documents that have been successfully uploaded to the software. So that's what I would typically expect. If you're uploading documents, you receive this confirmation email to confirm that all of those have been successfully uploaded, and then all the documents will appear on the document screen. That's all in terms of emailing documents to SmartDocs email. The other option, uploading documents to the document screen, is self-explanatory. It's just simply clicking this upload button here in the top right. And then you can choose documents as well. So we have our documents here. What can we do with them? Well, when it comes to general documents such as some bills, which we have right here, we have the option to attach them to existing transactions in the fund if they were available. So let's have a look at this water bill, for instance. If we click into this, you can see we have some details about this particular document and when it was uploaded. If we wanted to see what transactions we could potentially attach this document to, we can select this transactions button here in the top right. It has some details about the property that the document has extracted, and scrolling down, you can see it says suggested transaction. That means we have an existing transaction in the fund that SmartDocs has predicted we want to attach this document to, and that is based on the date of the transaction as well as the amount of the transaction there. If that is correct, you can click the attach option down here, and essentially what that will do is attach this document directly to that transaction. If we were to open the transaction list once again and find that transaction, you can see that's the Sydney water transaction, and it does have the attachment there. That water bill is currently attached. In the situation where maybe you don't have transactions that are relevant to that, or maybe you can't find them through that particular function, BGL SmartDocs will automatically look through these and attach them to what it expects um, the relevant transaction to be. If we go to accounting and smart matching, we did have those previous bank transactions we uploaded, and now that we have some other bill documents as well, you can see we have this SD icon showing up, which means the system is predicting that one of the documents we've uploaded is related to these transactions. For instance, if we go to this PDL dividend, we click open here, you can see the document itself has attached it to this transaction, and it's telling us that this is most likely going to be posted to the PDL dividends account. Let's have a look at another one. For instance, this accounting fee here, clicking in, you can see this document is for ABC Accounting, a total amount of $1,100, which, if we have a look at the transaction itself, matches that value. So that's one of the uses that you can have for SmartDocs, is if you've got a bank feed running that would bring in transactions that look similar to these here, or if you were to upload a bank statement, you can also take those extra documents, upload them, and then SmartDocs will analyze them and attach them to transactions based on the amount and based on the date of that transaction. So that's one of the functions that is available for you there. What about, for instance, if you needed to take a bank statement and make transactions like I've done here, but the bank statements have already just been emailed or added to the document screen. So you don't have the option to go through data entry and select that document. Let's go through that right now. I'll go back to the document screen here. And I'll just open the slides once again. So when it comes to bank statements, you can, as always, upload or send bank statements in the PDF or JPEG file formats. Both of those do work. And what this extra SmartDocs model will do is it will extract the bank details, balances, and transaction data, and will allow us to post those as transactions. So it's completing that process that we did at the start, except it's originating from the document screen. So essentially, we have a bank statement sent through to the SmartDocs email. Let's go from there and create transactions with that bank statement. Jumping back over to the software, we have our document screen, and I'll upload some documents that we're going to be using for the last half of this webinar. So we have our bank statement, we have a couple rental statements, and we have a tax statement as well. And we'll click upload. There we go. As you can see, it does have a different icon. It doesn't have that SD icon, and that's because SmartDocs hasn't analyzed it yet. So we do need to give it some time in order to recognize what type of documents these are so that I can correctly extract the data from them. If we were to click into this one here, this bank statement, and head to the transaction section once again in the top right, you can see that nothing could be found just because it is attempting to analyze these. If this does happen and it doesn't manage to choose a particular model to extract the data, you can select this drop down here and either choose to automatically categorize it, so attempt to reanalyze the document again, or you can select a model manually. For these, we do have annual tax statement, bank statements, contract notes, rental summaries, so on and so forth. So there are a number of different documents that SmartDocs works with. We'll select bank statement here, and we'll click the button to reanalyze. It's going to take just a bit of time double checking this document here. There we go. So it has extracted some of the details. You can see the account name, the dates related to this bank statement, as well as the opening and closing balance. In this case, what we're after is creating transactions with this bank statement. And to do that, we select the Fast Bank Entry button at the top. After doing that, we'll need to select one of the banks that is in our entity. So I'm going to select the Macquarie Trading Bank here and click the button Go to Fast Bank Entry. From here, it's identical to the previous process that we have. SmartDocs extracts the date, debits and credit values, as well as the descriptions. You can click through these and view these in the document on the right side as well, and view the dates as well. One thing to note is that if there is some pieces of information missing, you might end up with a bit of an error notice here. In this case, the description is missing, so you need to make sure those details are filled out before you can successfully post the transaction there. But you simply, the process here would be to review these, make sure they are correct to the bank statement, and once you are happy with those transactions, click Create. And as you can see, all of our transactions have been added to our entity. From there, you can take those extra bills that I mentioned, upload them, and SmartDocs will analyze those, attaching those to whichever transactions it would deem fit. And then from there, you can choose to match that to confirm that it should be connected to that transaction. But that's a quick little background about bank statements. Next up, we're having a look at some of the rental statements. One of the most common questions we had in the previous SmartDocs webinar is, can you upload monthly rental statements? Yes, you can. You can upload rental or yearly, monthly or yearly rental summaries, as well as rental statements with multiple properties is also available. The purpose of the rental statement uploads is to take that income and expense data. So you might have rental income, you might have various different fees, whether it might come down to water bills or accounting fees, audit fees, whatever it may be. It'll extract that data, and the rental statement model that SmartDocs has will attempt to reconcile the entity to those figures. It's a little bit of a complicated concept, but hopefully I can show you that right now and clear up any questions you might have. We'll jump back over to our entity, and we're heading back to reports and the document screen. We've already uploaded our summaries here. We have our yearly summary as well as a monthly summary for us. We're going to select the yearly one, and I'm going to run through one of the ways you could use these. As you can see, we have our yearly rental summary here. We'll select transactions, and you can see it's selected the rental summary model. So it's recognized this is a rental statement, and it has extracted a number of data. I might just zoom out so there is a bit more space to see. You'll be asked to select a property up the top here. So you'd select the property that has been added to your entity. It will have the start and end date, and then it will have a list of account codes. These are the account codes that SmartDocs has recognized and predicted that these amounts should be posted to. So for instance, the first one is property income, and that is related to the rent, the $22,000. If we were to click this statement amount, that would highlight in the document as well. So you can click any of these statement amounts, and they will show you where they appear on the rental statement. What this compares to is the ledger amount. So this column before, currently you can see we have no amounts of property income, agent management fees, advertising, or maintenance expenses recorded in the fund. However, using this document, we can essentially bring the income and expense figures to the values we see on the rental statement. To do that, we will need to make sure we are posting a complete balanced transaction. So in that case, we would need to select Add Row, and we're going to select a relevant account. What I would typically expect is if you were doing it at the end of a financial year and needed to carry that balance over, you would select sundry debtors or sundry creditors, or in the case where the income and expense was for the current financial year, you can also select New Bank Row, which is down the bottom. From there, you'll need to just select the account. In this case, we're selecting a bank account here and click Confirm. And then we will need to add the adjustment amount. As this needs to be balanced, one little trick I like to use is to highlight the adjustment amount, copy and paste it, and make sure it is opposite. So in this case, it is a negative, or in other words, a debit to the bank. So as this is a complete transaction, the adjustment amount will be 0, and you'll be allowed to post the adjustment journal. Let's have a look at this transaction just to see what SmartDocs has done for us. If we go to transaction list, and I'll search for the property. This is our transaction that it has created. So it has posted and has increased the amount of property income recorded by that 22,600 and has recorded a number of expenses to those relevant accounts with the balancing amount posted to the bank account. So that is one way to do it. If you didn't have any of your income or expenses recorded, you can simply use the rental summary model to post a transaction that will record your property's income or expenses. Another option that is available to you that the rental statement does support is reconciling these figures. So if you get to the end of a period, you've recorded a bunch of income and expense figures, then you went through that exact same process. Jump back to the document screen, rental statement, and we'll select this one here. Once again, it's the exact same document, but this time if we head to transactions, you can see that SmartDocs has recognized there is existing ledger amounts for these values, which means no further adjustment needs to be made. If these ledger amounts were different, then it would prompt you to post an adjustment in order to reconcile that account to the total amount of, in this case, 22,600. And we do have a question here, so you don't have to do anything after that. Essentially, that is correct. If we go back to the transaction itself, it has recorded income and 3 expense items, as well as posted the remaining to the bank. This is the complete transaction, and essentially, if this involved all of your yearly income and expenses in that one statement, then it would be reconciling to those figures and nothing else would need to be done. Naturally, we do recommend reviewing these, as AI can get things wrong, so we recommend always just keeping an eye over it, making sure the details are correct. In terms of monthly rental statements, let's head back to the document screen and I'll quickly show you about that. Monthly rental statement. If we were to go through the exact same process, click transactions. As you can see, this is a different date range, so it's recognizing there is no ledger amounts during this account, but it gives us the same option to post adjustments. In this case, just for demonstration purposes, we'll select sundry debtors and input our adjustment amount here. Another thing to note, if you did want to change any of these account codes, you can actually select them, click them, and then you can simply do a search through to find whichever expense account you were after. So in this case, maybe it's to do with advertising. So we can select that account, click confirm, and that will have changed for us. So that is rental summaries. I will move on as we don't have much time to cover the last thing. However, the last thing is to do with annual tax statements and distribution tax automation. So the purpose of this is to recognize and extract any of the tax component data that any annual tax statements may have, and then use this extracted data to automate the process on the distribution tax automation screen. Some of you may already know that in that screen, the distribution tax automation screen, we do have some system tax data available for you. That also does work. However, using SmartDocs allows you to essentially create automated data that you can use in a similar way. That way you don't need to wait for any updates to the software to include any of that system tax data as well. So jumping quickly back to the software, we do have our statement here, NDQ tax statement. And if we open this one up, you can see, once we go to the transaction section, that it does say we will need to review and extract this data from the distribution tax automation screen. So we can't do it from this screen. We'll simply close this and we'll head to that distribution tax automation screen. Selecting compliance here on the left, and then distribution tax automation. As you can see, we do have NDQ here. If we did want to have a look at any of those documents we've uploaded, that is in the SD review section up here. It says it allows us to review any annual tax statements uploaded that use the SmartDocs AI prediction. Clicking this will then show us a list of all of those annual tax statements we've uploaded. All you will need to do is select the relevant financial year for this statement, and then select the security code for this statement. that is all you need to do for this particular statement here. We'll select save, and that has automatically connected it to this particular security. From there, the next step is to extract that data and then use it to create a transaction in the fund. To do that, you can select the security and then select the SD extract from PDF option. You'll know this is available when you have that SD icon directly next to the security code here. So if that SD icon isn't directly next to it, you would need to have a look at your documents and make sure it's connected to the right security code. We'll click extract. And as you can see, it has extracted some of the data for us, including the gross interest here, which unfortunately we can't see because it's too far zoomed out. But if we zoom in, we do have that 4 cents showing there. And we do have the capital gains here as well. Unfortunately, on this screen, we don't have the ability to select a particular section. However, if you did click the arrow to the left side of any of these numbers, it will jump through the annual tax statement and have a look at where that appears on the document. So for instance, this foreign source income, we select this arrow, that will bring us to the section in the statement. So once again, what you would need to do is simply review this annual tax statement as well as the tax data that is being extracted, ensure it's correct, and then you can choose the option, whatever is needed, either to generate the tax data and post it as an accrual. If, for instance, that income hasn't been received in the bank in that financial year, or you can simply generate it and mark as reviewed. In this case, we'll post an accrual because we don't have an initial transaction in the fund. So that's been completed. That is now in the reviewed section. And if we jump back to the transaction list, I'll actually show you where this transaction exists. Double check the code and the queue. So this is the transaction that is created using that process. And as you can see, we do have an attachment once again. That is that annual tax statement that we previously used. So that is our transaction. As you can see, it is a zero value, but if we were to go into the more details, it does have those tax figures there. And that is a very quick overview of some of the SmartDocs features we have available. I did briefly mention it, but there are some other models that are available. If we were to click in here, go to transactions and select this one here. Here is currently all the options we have that SmartDocs can extract data from, and we're always looking to add more, some of the more, definitely looking to add the more commonly used documents first. That way you can get the most benefit out of it, but when it comes to SmartDocs AI, the options are endless when it comes to that. We could expand it to a variety of different documents, and beyond that, we can actually expand it into its own product, which is something that we've actually done. If I jump back to the slide here, SmartDocs 360 is essentially its own software. It is relatively new. However, we have already developed a connection with Xero there, where it allows you to send various bills and whatnot over, and those will appear as certain transactions in the fund. For instance, I'll bring this particular help article that we have over. This is one of the help articles that we currently have for BGL SmartDocs, and scrolling down, you can see what data SmartDocs does communicate with Xero. So in that case, we have unpaid invoices, receipts, and utility bills, and those are sent as transactions that are in draft, awaiting approval, or awaiting payment there. So there is already connections there. If you were interested in having a look at BGL SmartDocs, I'll post a link in the Zoom chat as well. Feel free to go check that one out. There is a little contact form down the bottom you can submit if you were interested in becoming a beta user of the software itself. But that does bring us to the end of today's webinar. Hopefully you got some benefit out of that. I do appreciate everyone for coming along. If you are joining us for one of our other Simple Invest Education Week webinars, I look forward to seeing you there. Otherwise, for the time being, I'll leave the session open and answer some questions that we might have. Thank you very much. And if you're leaving us, hope you have a great afternoon.